Tell you the truth, I don't want to. I never want to be thought of as somebody who knows everything. All right, because it really would take a long, long time to know everything. I'm trying to remember any text or any teaching about like a personal guardian angel. In other words, an angelic power that accompanies us, the way Jesus talks about it in the New Testament. Remember that Jesus says uh, you have to respect little children because their guardian angel sees your heavenly Father who is in heaven. Now, this is really an interesting statement if you think about it. In other words, the angel is caring for the child, but sees God the Father. All right. So, simultaneously with caring for the child, that angel is also in intimate relationship with God. All right. So it's like God is really close to the child, and the angel is kind of mediating the care. All right. That's a really very profound insight, and really, if we think about it carefully, we really begin to appreciate why we should really have respect for our guardian angel, because in a certain sense, the guardian angel is bringing us closer to God. So I don't think I've ever seen anything quite exactly like that in a Hindu, Buddhist, or Muslim text, but I wouldn't be surprised if you dig far enough, you would find something like that. Certainly, both the Muslims and the Jews have the idea of the good and bad influence, and one is on your left shoulder and one is on your right shoulder, this very old idea. And so, we see cartoons of that, but actually they really, in ancient times, they believed there was this, you know, voice over here telling you to do good and this voice over here kind of telling you to do bad things. But this was why, because, and this comes up, like I'll tell you, even, this morning talking to somebody in the bank, all right, how many times people will say to you, Father Francis, why is it that there are people who seem to like to do bad things? You know, the so-called toxic people, right? Could it be that these are the people who are like contaminated by the dark side? That they're really listening a lot to that bad voice. And now they've begun to enjoy hearing that bad voice and letting that bad voice direct their behavior. I mean, some of the things that you hear, of course, those terrible atrocities in and around Trieste and other places, clearly there was some kind of demonic influence. And also when you hear about you know men murdering their girlfriend or their wife, or threatening their wives with weapons. I have a friend who I've been giving spiritual direction to. She was threatened with a pistol on a regular basis by her husband. All right. Another woman who was beaten regularly by her husband. So we hear these stories and we're aware that there's a dark side out there, a very corrupt influence, that brings harm. And with there's no rationality to it. There's no explanation for it. It seems like there's an alien influence. And so this is another good reason why, of course, we want to have devotion to the guardian angel, that he will help us avoiding those kinds of contamination. Also, a devotion to Saint Michael the Archangel, who is very powerful in this. And of course, the rosary is a great weapon in the spiritual battle. Okay.